you're all very welcome to this webinar this evening on an introduction to club planning. My name is Niall Moraine. I'm a National Development Officer with the LGFA, and I'm delighted to have joined us here, Kieran Murda. And Kieran, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, Kieran Murda, County Down man, folks. I'm the Ulster Ladies Development Officer, and I'm just here on the call tonight to be at Niall's side, his unglamorous assistant.
Yeah, so Kieran, thanks very much. Kieran will be taking a look at any questions or any wee comments you have. So again, there's a wee Q&A box with questions, and there's also a wee chat if you wanna write any questions in there. I suppose just to start tonight, we're going to look at an introduction to club planning, and I suppose that's a bit of a catch-all term. And really, I suppose what tonight is to explain a wee bit about what club planning is, or maybe the process behind how do you come up with a club plan, and then give you a wee example. And then, as I say, we might do a wee question and answer session at the end. As I said, this should take about maybe 45 minutes. So just to start, I suppose last year you probably all saw. To have a club plan, we know there's a lot of things we have to do in a club, and we know there's a lot of things we have to achieve, and sometimes that can pull us all in different directions. So you can see the slide above us. We have our to-do list, but we also have a lot of different things pulling us, and the day-to-day business of the club can sometimes become a bit overwhelming if we don't know what direction we're going in. So really, as I say, to have a plan is to get all our ducks in order, get all our to-do list in line, and then make sure we're all working in the one direction. You can see, I suppose, last year, this is actually 2 years ago now, or three years possibly, even at this stage, you can see our attendance at the All-Ireland final, 50,000, and we all know that that's increased over the last number of years. But a lot of people could have said, well, that's great, where'd that come from? But actually that came from, I suppose, the LGFA strategic roadmap, 2017 to 2022. And you can see, I suppose, from your slide on screen at the minute, there's a number of different things we want to be. And one of those was the sport of choice for females. So I suppose back to the 50,000 or the 56,000 or the 58,000 or whatever it might be the next time, that's great. But what you don't see is what happened behind it to make it happen. So as I say, over the course of the next half an hour, hopefully I'll explain a wee bit on terms of how you can come up with a plan yourself, and a wee example of that as well. So I suppose first things first, what exactly is planning? So I suppose the planning is the process of thinking through what is possible. So what's possible for you, and that means different things for different clubs. Whether you're urban, rural, whether you have a big playing population, where you have a lot of members, where you don't have a lot of members. So it's really what is possible for you. What would it take to achieve it? So what do you actually have to do? Whether it's realistic to try, and personally I think it's always realistic to try, but maybe that just means, is it feasible for, again, your context and your club? And if all those things are true, what action do you need to take to make it happen? And without all those different things, you don't have a plan. Really, without all those different bits, you just have something you've written on paper. And I'm sure we all know, there's a lot of clubs might have plans, and a lot of maybe even counties might have plans, but unless they actually know what they're doing, why they're doing it, who's going to do it, and what they're hoping to achieve, it's really just a piece of paper that's lying somewhere. So I suppose, what is the purpose of the plan then? It's to ensure your club's being ambitious and preparing for the future. So I know, as I said at the start, there's a lot of things we're doing, a lot of day-to-day stuff that can sometimes overwhelm us when we're running clubs and when we're operating in clubs. So the plan will help you prepare for the future, and that's a really good thing as well, because it gets new people into the club. It'll plan for where you want to be. As well. So that's one of the big things when coming up with a plan, planning for the future. To focus the club and energize it, and it develops a common purpose as well. You'll find if you decide to undertake club planning, you will actually find that you might find people that really haven't been involved in the club before, or haven't been involved for a while, might want to come and have their say and get involved in coming up with a plan for yourselves. To deliver excellence for your members. So this is another one again. You want to be the best club you can be, and whether that means winning county championships or whether that means fielding teams at every age group, it's really what excellence means. for you, but you want to be the best you can for your members. So a plan can really help you figure out maybe where you're lacking or where you can improve on in your club as well. A big one for club planning as well is to fix a problem or solve a dilemma. And again, I suppose not to get into specific details, but I'm sure we can all think of situations in the club where something hasn't went well, or there's been an issue, and that can't always be fixed or solved just ad hoc. So it might mean you need a club plan and to try and figure out, and that could be something like, not fielding a team at certain age groups, and that's not going to solve itself. So you're going to have to figure out, well, in 2 years we want to be able to field at that age group as well. So how are we going to do that? So you'll need a plan. And last but not least, to get there early. So as I say, when you're running a club, the day-to-day stuff can sometimes get the better of you, and you're sort of moving week to week and month to month and meeting to meeting. But once you have a plan and once you know the direction you're going, you can actually get there early. So you might have a plan that, again, take it back to the situation where you want to field at all age groups. You might decide, we want to do that in 5 years. And by implementing the things in your plan, you might actually achieve it in 3 years. So again, that's just a wee introduction to I suppose, what is planning and why do you want to do a plan?
It's probably important, guys, as well, that planning includes on and off field activities. As Nell says there, you might want to field teams at every age group. You could be a club with all codes, ladies football, camogie, GA, hurling. So you maybe have to do a bit of planning off field as well, in terms of we need more infrastructure and facilities. You might need to have a new field to field at all age groups, and that can involve a lot of planning and people who don't want to get involved in coaching and games. And there's a lot of, as now we'll touch on later on, now like in the presentation, the use of subcommittees. So it's not left to the whole club executive to take ownership of the on and off field planning. And we'll touch on subcommittees later on now as the night goes on.
Yeah, 100%, Kieran. Thanks very much, and great input there as well. I suppose just I say we've got what is a plan, or what a plan's supposed to do, and why you want it. So I suppose the next place you'd go to is where you're at now, and what state is the club in the minute. And some things you want to look at, I suppose, when you're starting off, is number of teams in your club, number of members, the number of registered players per age group, your number of qualified coaches is really important. And then that'll be the obvious things when you're thinking about where you are now. But some things you mightn't think of is the population of your area. Again, just from my own point of view, my own club is rural South Tyrone, has a membership of 237. This is the GA club now, but we have actually a population of around 2,000. So you're only actually reaching 10% of the local population. So even just by finding out that, you could figure out where you could go or what you could achieve. Other things then, the cost of running the club. So that's information you should have as well. How much does it cost to run the club as well? And then a few other things like what current fundraising initiatives do you actually do? Or is there any sort of incomes that the club currently has to offset the cost of running the club? So again, I know that seems a bit daunting to go out and figure out all that information straight away, but say you should have a lot of it. Your total population of your catchment area, you should be able to get that off your local council, your local borough. The number of members in your club, your registrar should have that. And again, for your registered players, again, that should be information the club has. Number of teams should be easy enough to figure out. Might be difficult to look about your number of qualified coaches, because again, your number of qualified coaches will have to have gone through actual coaching qualifications, so you'll have to figure that out as well. And then again, cost to run the club approximately each year, that'll be in your treasurer's report from the previous year. And then again, if you have any key fundraising initiatives or any kind of incomes you have in the club, so those are the real the simplest way I would go about it. Those are the things I'd be looking at. Your numbers, your members, your teams, your officials, your volunteers, and then how much it takes to run the club, how much it takes you take in every year in fundraising or income, and what is the total population of your area. So again, this is just a wee simple data gathering sheet, just somewhere to have it. And again, if you get in touch after the webinar, I can send that out to you, and you can get started on that. So something you can do even before you start thinking about your plans. So that's what we'd recommend at the very start. You figure out where you're at now. So moving forward then into the club planning process, and I suppose over the next couple of slides, I'm just going to go through what exactly the club planning process is. And if you want to get involved in club planning, whether it be as a standalone ladies club with the LGFA or as part of a wider, maybe one club with GA, Camogie, whatever you have in your club, here's where you'd start, and these are the steps you'd suppose undertake. First of all, you'd be assigned a facilitator. So with the LGFA, we have a number of facilitators, and if you're doing it as one club, I think the GA have a number of facilitators in your province or locally to you as well. And what they'll do is really outline the process. They'll arrange a date to meet, and they'll outline what a steering group is, and I suppose the club will then arrange to host that group at the first meeting or the next meeting they have to start off your plan. And then they'll also share a club planning pack with them. So a wee bit just about, as I said at the start, there's a lot to do in terms of running a club otherwise. So if you were going to go and undertake club planning, I would advise you get a steering group of people that are going to look after the process of the club plan, whether that be a 2 months thing or a 3 month or 4 month or however long it takes, that you have a set number of people that maybe aren't all involved in the day-to-day run of the club, and let the people that are running the club get on with that, and let these people worry about, I suppose, coming up with the plan for you. But again, that's in cooperation with the officers in the club. In meeting one then, once we've decided who these people are in the steering group, they would meet again with the facilitator, and then I suppose they'll discuss at that meeting the steps it'll take to get the plan in place, and hopefully agree a launch date for the plan. Again, with the pack they'll issue you at the start, they'll go over that, ask any questions about what exactly is involved in the process, and they'll be answered hopefully by the facilitator again. They'll discuss then, I know I'm coming up with a lot of different groups and things like that there, but they'll discuss focus teams and potential focus group leaders and chairs with you at that point. And focus groups are like a bit of a subsidiary of the steering group, where you have your steering group who's looking after the plan coming together. Focus groups will be people you'll take from the club or the local area or the local community, or maybe even possibly other clubs in the area or other different sports in the area, and they're just there to give their opinion, and they're there just to ask on a specific topic. What do you think should we be doing here? And hopefully they'll give you some good info from that. So the facilitator will let you know what a focus group is and how you get them, and they'll come from the club planning workshop, which I'll go through next. But that's where your focus groups are. And then, as I say, the club workshop, you'll plan that at that first meeting with the facilitator and fix a date for that. So your workshop is where you're going to get all your information from your plan, and you're going to invite all your club members there and hopefully get a good bit of information from that as well. At the first meeting, again, your facilitator will review the process from start to finish, agree dates, and then the data gathering sheet that I showed you in the previous slide, you'll submit that to the club facilitator, just so we all know where we're at the moment. Your next meeting then with the facilitator for your club plan will be that club planning workshop, and the facilitator will host that workshop. And really, you're looking to gather as much information from as many different sources as possible in that workshop. And really what it is, it asks a series of questions, and there'll be a series of discussions going on in the room, and they'll be around player development, fundraising, communications, the overall run of the club, administration and governance, and a few other things as well. It might be how you get your club out there. And they'll ask a number of questions, and everyone in the room will be asked to get into groups and discuss them, and then they'll all feed back. And the information you'll get that night is invaluable, because as I say, if you get all your club members there, if you get all your local population there, the people in your community there, even people that haven't been involved for a while there, you might find out a lot more than if it was just maybe the club executive sitting around a table and deciding, well, this is the way we'll go. And again, players, coaches, all those people there, because you want to give people a say, because as I say, if you're going to go for a club plan, it needs to be from everyone in the club, and it needs to be by everyone in the club, and it needs to be for everyone in the club. At that meeting there, you'll look for participants to take part in focus groups. So as I say, they're people that are maybe going to flesh out your plan a bit more, and if they have something to add and they've input to give, get them on a focus group, and as I say, you'll meet with them next. And as I say, then you'd hope your steering group, and I know this is a bit confusing and there's a lot of different titles here, but the people who are on your steering group who are coming up with a plan, they would be assigned to meet with a single focus group, and one focus group might look after coaching, one focus group might look after players, another might look after fundraising and finance, another might look after governance, and another might look after communications. So really the steering group will then go and meet with our focus groups, and you'd hope you'd meet them in the next week or so after you do your club plan and workshop, just so everything's fresh in the head. And you'd want to work on what was discussed at the club workshop, and as I say, flesh it out a bit more, develop actions. So well, if we said we want to field, again, going back to that one, field it at all age levels. Well, how are we going to do that? And you come up with a plan, or come up with actions to be able to achieve the parts of your plan. And again, you're with your focus groups and with your steering group, you're spreading the load out here, and you're spreading it out so everyone's involved and everyone feels that they've had input into coming up with a plan. So it really is part of the club's plan.
And now I think just to put people's mind at ease on the call, it does seem a lot, oh, there's a focus group, there's a steering group. And folks, I was involved in this process for now this past 18 months to 2 years, and it did take a wee bit to get my head around it. But now I was always at the end of the phone for a chat about the process and how it went from start to finish. And I think now is right in agreeing a date for the planning guys, because the longer you leave it, you pull the long finger and the long finger. But if you say, right, by June 2021 next year, we're going to have X, Y, and Z, and we want to achieve that. And as now I say, our action points are agreed. That give the club and the club members a focus and something to work for. But if you keep putting it back and putting it back, it'll rot away, and it'll probably never happen. So it is good that these people who maybe aren't on the club executive now, that they're separate from the club, they're still club members, but they can take ownership of it and work away in the background, and it takes that ease and that burden away from your overall club executive, because they have a lot of work to do in the day-to-day running of the overall club.
Yeah, great point again, Kieran, and especially with the focus groups and the club plan and workshop, which are really, really important parts of coming up with a plan, because that does make your members and even people, as Kieran said, who maybe aren't involved in the club or are outside the club, feel like they are part of it. And from this, you might get people who are willing to put up their hand to help out with more in the club as well. Mm-hmm. The next bit then will be meeting 3 will be part of that focus groups. That'll be meeting with the focus groups and the steering team. So once you have met with your focus groups, the steering group then will come back and they'll look at all the different sections and they'll put it together and finalize. Well, yeah, this is good. We'll add this part in. Might have to leave this bit out, and they'll just decide on the final what the final plan is going to look like. And as I say, from our focus groups, each focus group leader will present to the steering group. You'll meet. You'll say, well, this is what our focus group looked at. This is what our focus group looked at. Here's what we decided on. And you can do that meeting with. You don't have to have a facilitator there if you're happy enough as part of the club to go through that yourself. But you can have the facilitator there if you'd like to as well. Or probably a better option would be to agree the plan and send it to the facilitator for them to run their eye over and just say, well, look, what do you think of this? But that's really the bulk of it. And I know, as Kieran said there, it does sound complicated, but to come up with a real good club plan, 4 meetings, 4 evenings of your time, you could say to people to get involved in this. You meet with the facilitator as a steering group. You hold your club plan and workshop. You hold your focus groups to flesh out your plan, and then you come together to put the plan together. And that's really the crux of it there. And as I say, your executive might meet with the facilitator before you start. So I know it looks complicated, but those are the step-by-step things you need to do to achieve, I suppose, a real good club plan, and not something that's going to say, well, we're going to play ladies football in the club and we're going to have a fundraiser, and it sits on a shelf somewhere and nobody ever looks at it again. To have a plan that's going to be actionable, those are the steps you really need to go through.
I think Now, probably sorry I've come across again. The beauty about opening it up to all club members is when parents, you invite parents to a parents' evening or a parents' day or whatever you want to call it, that you might have some individual, some man or woman within the club with a good business head, and they might say, this is something I'd like to get my teeth around, that they want to be involved in the coaching and games of the club, that they want to be involved in the administration of the overall club, but if they have seen a wee project that's going to better the club overall and develop their children, they might say, yeah, I put my hand up and I lead that individual focus area for you.
Yeah, and again, Kieran, look, the beauty of this is if you feel there's someone in your club or in your local area who could facilitate this, or you could facilitate this as a club yourself. Now, it's not always achievable within your club, but if you feel this is something you can handle yourselves, there's the steps, and that's how you do it. I suppose just to break down the different roles of people in coming up with a plan again, you can see on this slide as well, we've got our steering group and then our focus groups. So as I say, the steering group, you can see there in the green at the top, they look after coming up with a plan, and they'll organise the focus group, and they'll start the process, and they'll keep the whole thing going, I suppose. And then you can see coming out from the steering group, there's those different sections or those different strands, and you could coaching and football development focus group, communications and promotions, club structures and administration, and then finance and fundraising. So those are your focus groups, or those are in effect the different sections you're going to look at as part of your plan. So as Kieran said at the very start, it's not going to be all about the football pitch, it's about all the different facets of the club. And as you can see there, your steering groups formed at the start. The chairperson of each focus group or each section there will be picked from the steering group. And then other members of the focus group will volunteer. The theory is they'll volunteer on the night of the workshop. And I know you might think, nobody will ever put their hand up for more work. Any focus group or any workshop we have held, there's been any number of people who are willing to put their hand up, because, as I say, it's by them and it's for them and it's for their benefit. And giving people their say will make them want to get involved a bit more as well. So hopefully that makes it a bit simpler about what the different roles are in coming up with a plan. The next step then, and I know I said there was only 3 meetings, but there's a few more wee things to do just before you actually have a plan in place. And really, really, really important part of it is to meet with the club executive. Now, you might have a number of the club executive on the plan steering group, but you don't want to be in a situation where you have the club executive, and I'm sure everyone on the call tonight is part of a club executive. You don't want to have a situation where you don't know what's going on, and suddenly after 2 or 3 months, you're just told, there you go, there's a plan, it's going out tomorrow. So you want to meet with the steering group as a club executive and share the plan and fully, say this is what it's going to be, and just say, look, have a look over that. If there's anything you think could be added as members of the club executive, let us know, and we'll maybe add it in. And then after that meeting's had, I would email the plan to the club facilitator to say, look, we're finished here. We think this is what we're going for. Take a look over it. After that, the facilitator they'll look over it, and they'll, I suppose, ensure it just fits in with the LGFA's ethos and initiatives and things like that there as well, because there might be something that maybe you as a club aren't aware of that you could get involved in. I'm sure by being on this call tonight, you're probably aware of most of them, but there are a number of different initiatives we run in terms of coach education, player education, participation, overall club education, volunteer education. So it's important that those things are included as well, and maybe there's an opportunity for your club to get involved in that your steering group might be aware of, but the facilitator might be aware of. They'll review the process and align, as I say, with the LGFA's initiatives and values and ethos, and provide any feedback to the club that maybe there's a section that might need a bit more work on, or maybe they could include this, or maybe this needs taken out of the plan. Just again, to make it back to the start, to make it feasible for the context of your club. And then after that, it's about preparing to launch your plan. And there's maybe a potential there for a meeting, whether it be on online or maybe in the future face-to-face with the steering group. Again, I don't really think so. I think the facilitator can issue that maybe by email or even over the phone. But if there's something maybe needs clarified, maybe you can meet with the facilitator one more time. But I suppose there's no real point if it's just bringing people out for the sake of having another meeting. But the next thing then is launching your plan. And that's where a lot of people fall down. They have this great document and they have this real vision for the future, but they just put it up on their website or they put it up on their social media pages, and nobody ever looks at it again. So I would make an event of it. We had a great, and I have one. Actually, have one here from the Kilcock Club in Kildare. I'm nearly sure Kilcock is, and I don't want to offend anyone in case they're not, but I'm nearly sure they are. They did this last year, and as part of their launch, they get every single member of the club, and I don't think it's on this. They get every single member of the club to go out onto the pitch, and they get somebody with a drone to fly over, and they spelt the word. I think it was Kilcock LGFA. You know, in letters with the people in their club as part of their launch. So that was a real fun wee thing they did, just to make it a bit different and to get people talking about it. And people were talking about it. You know, so it really helped. And I would invite then to that launch participants to the process, county board reps, whether that be LGFA or GA or the managers of the county teams, both men and female, and hurling and camogie and all the rest. You want to get people there. Members, your players, your coaches, all your members of your clubs, anyone from the province if they're willing to come down. Local businesses, again, get them involved and see, look, this is what we're about as a club and this is what we want to achieve. And as well as that, you know, you could local politicians, say, I've said they're local VIPs, but really everyone in your club's your VIPs and everyone in the community is your VIPs. So just invite everyone that you think that your club plan could impact in any way. After that, as I say, we've had our meetings, we've had our plan launched. It's no good if that plan, as I say, I have Kilcock's here. It's no good if that goes into the boot of somebody's car and is never looked at again. So the next task then will be establishing a committee to look after the plan. And that can be, again, as we talked about subcommittees, that can just be another subcommittee of your club. And they can be tasked with looking after the plan and reviewing the plan and just keeping everyone up to date about what's going on with the plan. And if you decide to go ahead with a club plan, that plan should be at every meeting moving forward, every committee meeting. It should be there, and it should be, well, how are we doing compared to the plan? Say each area of the plan is a committee that deliver each area of the plan over the year. So as we take our 4 sections there, we've got player development. So you could have a player development subcommittee. Finance and fundraising, have a fundraising subcommittee. Communications and you have a PRO subcommittee or a communications subcommittee, and then I suppose an overall plan committee, because really your administration and your plan committee and club structures is going to be your club executive really looking after that as well. So just having an overall plan committee, 2 or 3 people that are just going to keep on top of it and keep pushing this for the duration of the plan, whether that be 1 year, 3 years, 5 years. And lastly then, I suppose, is looking at it and updating it and reviewing your plan, because as I say, it's no good having a plan and it's sitting on a shelf gathering dust and nobody ever looks at it again. And your situation might change, the context of your club might change. You might achieve parts of your plan sooner than you thought. So you might actually have to update it. You might actually have to go in and review it and say, well, we've ticked this off. What's our next step? So again, your subcommittees there, meet and update the executive monthly on the activity of the plan and report your progress. And I suppose notify, you don't have to notify myself as the LGFA, you can certainly, and I'd be welcomed it. But if you want to, even if you have your facilitator, if you have even a county rep or someone in the province, and you have Kieran there and development officers in the province like Kieran, just notify them how you're getting on with your plan. If you have any problems, get in touch, and if you have any roadblocks or you're finding out maybe you can't achieve something you set out to achieve, get in touch with us and figure out what we can do about that, or figure out maybe how we can support you in that. So as I say, that's the last steps there, launching your plan and keeping on top of it after you launch it, are probably the most important steps of all, because as I say, I know of plenty of plans that have happened in the past, and they've sat in someone's house and they've never been looked at after they've been produced. So really the most important thing is what you do after you produce your plan, and you make sure you keep on top of it, and you make sure the actions are actually being actioned.
And now we're probably another thing, just a point to make, is anybody who's maybe on the steering committee and they maybe want to see the plan in fruition from start to finish, we're not saying that they can't be on that implementation committee either, you know what I mean? So if they were on the original steering committee and they want to see it finished over the next year, 18 months, or however long they put a time limit on it, it's something that some people might want to see through right to the end, as well.
Definitely, Kieran, and you probably will find that the people who are involved in your steering committee would want to be, and they're probably the ideal candidates to be on that implementation committee, or the people that are looking after making sure this plan works, because they've been really invested in coming up with a plan. So too, it'll be important to have somebody from the executive on that as well, just to make sure that it aligns with what actually has happened in day to day in the club as well. Because again, we really don't want to be in a situation where you have a plan committee and a club committee. You want it to be all one and part of the same, you know. I suppose that's the process, guys, and I know it's a bit convoluted and it's a bit complicated at the start, but it's really 3 meetings. Do your work in between, launch your plan, and make sure the plan's been actioned after it's launched, or make sure it's been updated and reviewed, you know, regularly. Just, I suppose, wee tips on what your plan should look like. And I know it's going to be different for every club, so there's no point me saying you should be doing this and you should be doing this and you should be doing this. But the best plan should be concise and simple. There's no point saying, you know, we're going to win every county championship for the next 10 years. If it's not going to be, you know, if it's not simple, we're going to produce, you know, every player in the county team. These things aren't simple. So make it concise and simple to your club. Make it easy to read. As I say, I have Kilcox here. It is it's about 10 pages altogether, and really there's a bit just in the history of the club, and the actual bulk of the plan's about 5 pages long. So that's really what it is, a page for each section. That's really what they're doing there. It should contain clear actions. So again, it's no good saying back to fielding at every age group. It's no good saying we're going to field at every age group if there's no actual actions about how that's going to be achieved or how that's going to happen. And again, one part of your plan might be you're going to fill every officer position, but there's no point saying that and then hoping people will turn up at the AGM to fill them. So it's about how you're actually going to do the things you say you're going to do as part of your plan. As I touched on it a wee bit previously, you know, plans should be practical, and that means different things for different clubs. And I'm not gonna patronise and say, you know, you should all be winning trophies, and it's not all about winning trophies. It's about what does success mean for your club specifically. And it might mean that you're an underage club and you want to have a senior team. It might mean that it might mean you're not fielding at certain age groups and you want to write that. It might be that you want to win the trophy. It might be that you want to have a functioning committee. It might be that you want to be the best club for community in your area and you want to be a community club. But really make it practical to your situation and to your context. And last but not least, it should be achievable, but it should be testing. So again, the other way, it's no good saying we want to win every trophy under the sun, because that's not practical either. But the other way, it's no good saying, oh, we just want to keep going and we want to keep ladies football going in the area, because that's go out and put a jersey in 15 players and that you've done that, you've achieved that. So you want it to be achievable for your club, but you want it to be testing. You don't want it to be easy. You don't want it to be just keeping doing the same thing that you've always been doing, because you'll not get different results that way. So you want it to be achievable, but testing. So again, that probably finishes off what a plan is and how you come up with a club plan. And hopefully over the last number of slides, you know, we've given you an idea of what it actually takes to come up with a club plan. It's not just, I suppose, sitting around a table and deciding, well, this is what we'll do. There is a number of steps to it. But I suppose just, I know it is very hard to visualize what actually it is. So I've got a wee example here. And this is actually, it's from a GA club, but they're part of a one club as far as I'm aware. So we've got Edenderry GA strategic plan here, and they've actually did 2. So they did one from 2010 to 2015. And then after 2015, they actually looked at it and said, well, where are we now again? And we're going to go again for the next 5 years. So they took that maybe a year or two coming up with the next plan, and then they ran another one from 2017, and it'll finish in 2022. So I suppose just to where they were or why they developed the plan in the first place, Edenderry was changing. It was changing times. There was a difficult economic climate in 2010. There was social changes. There was different population demographics in the club and in the community. And the club was at a serious crossroads. So as I said at the start about my own club, you know, reaching about 10% of the local population, it was something similar in Edenderry. They weren't really challenging and getting enough people into the club that they should have been. And I suppose they were competing against different sports and different things. So they wanted to change that. They wanted to prepare for the future again. So they wanted to plan and prepare for expansion to serve the community, because, as I say, the demographics of Edenderry were changing. There was a lot more people coming in. So they wanted to be able to service those people as well. They wanted to deliver to the full potential. So as the GA club being the largest and oldest sporting organisation in the town, they wanted to be the biggest as well, and they wanted to be the best. And they wanted to have a common purpose as well, and unite their membership under common goals and identify a common direction. So it's all about swimming in the same direction or working together, and they thought a plan would help them achieve that as well. Just to suppose on the planning process, it's the exact same one that I talked about previously. They had a steering group put in place. They consulted their members, so they hosted a club workshop. They had a dedicated focus groups from that workshop that developed the plan, and then the steering group devised the plan, and it was launched to their membership. In terms of just the steering group and who they actually got in touch with and who they came into that workshop, they had over 110 people at the workshop, and they had players, supporters, teachers in the local schools. They had parents who are, and often forgot about, members of your club as well, or maybe not even members, but they're there and they're part of it. Members of their club, just normal members of their club as well. They had coaches and they had supporters. So they mightn't have been members of the club, but they might have turned up at every game. And I'm sure we all know that in our local club as well. So they asked all those people, and then they also fed into the club executive, to the Offaly County Board, to the Leinster Provincial Council, and Croke Park, and they asked all these people their views and their opinions, and they asked them all to input into their plan. So there's just a wee idea of who you could actually target, and it's not just about the executive, or it's not just about the same faces all the time. Would you have anything to add to that, Kieran?
No, I think the key one for me in any club is that link between the club and the school, and getting teachers on board, because a lot of primary and post-primary schools, they want the local kids coming to their schools. So if they're having a bit of input and ownership of what's going on in the club, that relationship will flourish both club and school, and it's a key link for any successful club going forward.
Yeah, definitely. And it's another one sometimes we forget about, and sometimes we maybe take it for granted that, look, there's a school there and she'll all come and play. Mm-hmm. It's not always as simple as that. Mm-hmm. In terms of just that's a wee snapshot from the night, and again, they worked out from their workshop and their focus groups and their steering group, they actually had over 600 hours of volunteers' time and coming up with their plans. So volunteer labour, there's over 600 hours of that in the people that give their time to come to a workshop, to come to a focus group, to be part of the steering group, to come up with a plan. So it really was by the members and for the members. In terms of their plan, and they looked at about six core themes. So you can see there they had club administration. They actually looked at their code of conduct and how I suppose that was operating in their club. They had coaching and games development. So they looked at the coaching and games. They looked at finance and fundraising. They looked at communications, PR, and the social aspect of their club, which is one people forget about as well. And then I suppose as they were their GA club, they looked at, and one club overall, they looked at facilities development. So that was the 6 key themes. And as I say, they had deliverables, they had actions to do in 2010, to do in 2013, and then what they wanted to do by the end of their plan. And I think the next slide will give us a wee snapshot of what their plan looked like, and what actually one of their topics looked like, or one of their strands of their plan looked like. So you can see there they have an overriding aim for that section. And in 2010, they said in 2015 they want to say Eden Dairy GA is providing a consistently high standard of coaching and ensuring players in the club have an opportunity to participate fully and take part in meaningful games in an informal and safe and enjoyable environment. So that was their overall aim for coaching games in their club. And then everything else fed into that. So as part of that aim, they were going to start a coaching and games development committee. They were going to appoint a club coaching coordinator. So that was just somebody who was going to take a role on to make sure that the coaches knew what team they were with, knew what they were doing, had their qualifications, had any other upskilling or training they needed. So that was going to be their role. They're going to look at the personnel required, so who they needed to recruit to be coaches. Did they need more coaches? Did they need less coaches? What kind of quality coaches they needed? They were going to focus on participation in schools, in the club and local schools. So as I said there earlier, can be oftentimes forgot that they were going to focus on how do we get everyone in the school playing football. They were going to look at starting a nursery program, getting qualified coaches, as I said, having a school liaison. So really simple thing as well, just having a link to the school and I know it's something we've really pushed over the last number of years, and hopefully every club's doing that as well, but having a link to the school. And then they were going to develop a code of conduct for anyone who wanted to play in the club or anyone who wanted to coach in the club. And their big focus was going to be on player retention. So they were their key projects. And if you look over at the red part of the screen, and the wee red section there, you can see there they've got their actions, and that's all those key projects. What they want to do, so the outcome sought, what kind of time scale they were looking at that. If there's any milestones along the way, so what kind of milestone would indicate that, yeah, we're on the right track here. And then last but not least, and probably most importantly, whose responsibility is this going to be to make sure this happens? And that's really one of the most important things there. So it's not just we're going to do this, but really nobody's in charge of it, and everyone's in charge of it, and it'll really never get done. So who's in charge of it, and who's in charge of making sure this is going to happen? And you can see there at the bottom, they just had a wee bit about their coach education program and how they were going to do that, and how many coaches they wanted to get through each kind of coaching qualification level over the age of their plan. In terms of them, when they got to 2015, they went about updating their plan, and again they consulted and reviewed with the county board, with the provincial council, and with the national GA planning group as well. But they also, again, had their focus groups, they had their club workshop, and they asked their members, most importantly. From those then, they updated their goals for 2017 to 2022, and they had the implementation committee, as we talked about, to make sure that the goals and the actions were going to happen. In terms of just, I suppose, where Eden Derry GA Club is today, they have over 180 clubs, or kids, sorry, in the Cool Reds coaching nursery. They have membership and income levels at the highest levels they've been. They've purchased land to develop new pitches. They're linked directly with the schools, and they have subcommittee structures now in place, which they didn't have before. And then in terms of their senior championships, they won senior championships a number of years, and they were finalists as well. But that's not the most important thing. And you can see there they integrated fully with the ladies club as well by the time that plan finished in 2015. In terms of, I suppose, their next plan, then just a wee snippet of it as well. You can see there that's what they wanted to achieve beyond 2015, and where the plan was going from 2017 to 2022. So again, they launched their next plan after that as well. And I don't have anything from it, but I have, I suppose, a bit of feedback from their club chairperson. And it used to be a case that their PRO would have to do everything involved with communication. Now they have 5 people then assist them in the various tasks, and that was just by putting together a subcommittee for communications. And his advice is, don't be afraid to ask people, and always ask people to undertake a role in the club that fits their own talents. Our experience has shown us that people are there, and they're willing to help. So I suppose that's a bit of a testimony for someone who's been through the club planning. I suppose that's the end of that example. And I suppose to leave you is just at the end of this webinar, just some things to look at. Your strengths. Think about what your club's doing really well and that you want to keep doing. Your opportunities. What areas are there for improvement, and where could you maybe do a wee bit better? What are your aspirations? So what is your hope and what's your dream for the club? And not only what's your hope and your dream for the club, but what's all your members' hope and dream for the club? And results. What does your club want to be known for? And for some clubs that'll be for success on the pitch. For other clubs that'll be for success off the pitch. And it's really just deciding what do you want to be known for as a club. A couple of take-home messages, I suppose, can really get you started in this. Always think about the bigger picture. Don't try and look at things in isolation. So don't go at this and leave tonight and say, right, we're going to have a plan, but we're only going to focus on one area. It all links in, and it's all part of the wider club. So I wouldn't be going away from here going, right, we'll just do a plan about how we get more coaches, because you might find that when you go into that, it might be actually something else affecting that altogether. It might be your actual club structures, and then you're going to need to do a plan on that, and you'd be safer looking at everything as a whole. Familiarise yourself with all the various resources available and link them to your plan. There's no point reinventing the wheel, and there's no point reinventing any wheels. There's any number of plan examples out there. If you go, I suppose most club websites have them. There's county websites have them as well. I know I've seen a number. But if you want to go and get a bit of, I suppose, inspiration, take a look at them. I wouldn't be advising you to copy them, because their own situation could be different from yours. But take a look at them and see what what has been done before. And again, look at the various LGFA initiatives that are out there in terms of participation, in terms of coach education, in terms of volunteer education, and in terms of the overall club, what's out there that you can get involved in, and link that into your plan. Make best practice the norm, develop your own standards. So you want to be the best club you can be, and that can all link into your plan as well, and develop what the standard is to make your club the best it can be. And don't just I suppose go with the flow and just do what's easy to do. And last but not least, identify what support can you utilize to help you in your journey. So you've got development officers in each province for everyone in the provinces. You've got the national development officers as well, and the development team as a whole, which is the national and the provincial development officers. And then you've got the office support as well with the LGFA, and you've got I suppose your own county boards and your own provincial councils as well. So I suppose that finishes up for the night. Guys, if anyone has any questions or if anyone has any comments, we could take them now. But come here, thanks for your time. I suppose that's just went slightly over 45 minutes. From myself and from Kieran, thank you for that tonight. Kieran, was there any questions come in?
It's checking the chat box. No, nothing there. The Q&A, nothing. If anybody...
Okay, yeah, so we might give us a few minutes if there's any questions anyone has. Don't be afraid to write them in. I don't want to, hopefully we haven't overwhelmed you there tonight. But I suppose there was a few questions. Came in previously on the registration form. So some of them aren't really relevant to what we're talking about tonight, but the ones that are, I might go through them. And the first one was, what subcommittee would be advantage to your club? And I suppose to answer that question, it really depends on what you're doing in your club. But really, you probably can't go wrong with having a coaching or a player and coaching development group. So that's maybe a group to look after youth coaching in the club, or a group to look after coach education in the club. A fundraising subcommittee. You could have a social subcommittee. You could have I'm just trying to think here. You could have really anything that's not essential work of the officers in your club. So there are some things that the chairperson, secretary, treasurer, PRO, register will have to do, but there's some things that can be shared out, and anything that can be shared out, you might find that people are willing to give a wee bit of their time rather than take on the full role. Some other things, even just games committees. So if you're hosting a game, that you have a group of people that are going to look after the gate, that are going to look after a club shop, that kind of thing. It can be even as simple as someone who's going to look after rota and washing jerseys, things like that there. Would you have anything to add to that one, Kieran?
No, sorry, just a question, not a question. Martin O'Hagan, will there be a link to this webinar to view again? It'll be up on our YouTube channel probably now next week sometime, won't it?
And I think it'll be on the website as well. It'll be up on the website. It should be, and you'll be able to share that around and get as many people in the club as supposed to watch it as possible as well. And you can review it there. So I am recording it tonight for it to be put up there. Some of the other things that came up, I'm just trying to see. That was it. There was a number of other questions around, I suppose, the roles of different people in the clubs. We will be doing webinars on those as we come into the new year. So they will be there. The role descriptions for every single officer role are available on the website as well. So it probably would take too long tonight for me to go over the specific roles. There was other questions asked about voting procedure just for the AGMs. There is a webinar we did on the AGMs 2 weeks ago, and it's available on the website. So again, I wouldn't be able to give you the full answer sitting here tonight. So take a look on the website and take on to that as well. Anything else, Kieran, coming in?
Yeah, just a few questions from one of our callers. Are the slides be able to be a copy of the slides quite? I don't think that's available now.
No, but we won't have a copy of the slides, but we will have a copy of this webinar for you to review and look back on.
Okay, and another one. Can you ask parents in a registration form or in a separate form what their jobs and skills are so that they're willing to volunteer for the club going forward? Yeah, I think that's fair enough, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Really, I know it's a scary one at the minute with GDPR and all these kind of things, but I suppose the way it was explained to me that as long as it's relevant to what you're using the form for, and it's for registration or whatever it is, it's to do with a football club, then I think it probably would be okay to ask them, are they willing to help out? And it's a wee tick box. I don't think you're going to be too wrong that way. But I would suggest, instead of asking people in a form, if you want people to help out, the best way is to go and ask them face to face. Because I suppose it's easy to tick a box in a form, It's a lot
It's
harder to say no when
yeah,
somebody's
hard to
asking
turn
you.
somebody face to face right now. Now, a question here now from one of the panelists, or one of the, sorry, people in the call. Who would best support an LGFA club, were the LGFA club to become part of the one club model? So who could they go to for support? Is that?
I would suggest giving our office a call, because we have a number of people there who are well clued in on the one club guidelines. The one club guidelines are also available. I believe they're on our website, and if not, they're definitely on the GAE Learning site there. And
Yeah.
I'm sure in your provinces there'll be guidelines there as well. But if there's something specific you'd like to discuss, give me a shout. Give me a call.
Offline now, probably better, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Give me, if it's something specific to your club, pick up the phone and give me a call, and we can discuss it, and I can point you in the right direction there. Anything else coming in, Kieran?
Yeah, one more. No, just thank you from the participant. Thanks for that answer now. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks very much, guys. Again, that probably ends us tonight. I'll let you. Thank you for coming in on a Friday evening and listening to us for the last hour. Thanks very much, and safe home and all the rest, and look after yourselves, and thanks for taking part. Kieran, you have anything else to add?
Yeah, no, thank you, Niall, for asking me on tonight, and thanks to everybody. Good numbers on with over 20 in the call now, so hopefully it gives people a bit of positivity and a bit of energizing to start, hit the ground running in 2021, and hopefully we'll have a better year than we did in 2010 now in regards to COVID, so we can get more done on and off the field for each member of our club. That's what we're all aiming towards. Stay positive, guys, all the time.
Yeah, and thanks very much, guys. And that's us for this evening. Thank you.
Okay, good night. You stop.